Well, I grew up with a biologist father and witnessed the reintroduction of pronghorn antelope and bighorn sheep, and was always told that it should be the same with buffalo, that they are restored as wildlife, meaning that they can exist without intervention of man. And with 300,000 buffalo or bison in the commercial meat market, there's already a lot of the ranching of buffalo that exists. What we're trying to do is to change the paradigm to ensure that buffalo can exist without having to be under the auspices of livestock or production or money being the bottom line. And most people that go into bison ranching do it because of the economy for it. Buffalo meat is about 3 times what cattle prices are, so it can be lucrative if you can do that. But everybody and anybody can do that. To restore buffalo, to restore this species that's ecologically extinct, that's important. Um, the buffalo in Yellowstone is essentially the last wild herd that exists, and so they do not exist in large numbers on large landscapes under natural regulating factors anywhere. So there's still a real need to restore buffalo in a way like this, where they can be wildlife, where they're not managed for meat or managed for production or managed for money, but their ecological and cultural importance to the people, but also the land. They're a keystone species. So they bring back plant and animal biodiversity. They store carbon. They have a ecosystem function that's very important just by their presence. But in order to restore them in that way, we have to ensure there's adequate habitat. Most of the reservations, when they were opened up for homesteading, prioritized cattle production, privatized land, and that made us trespassers on our own reservation. So when we're trying to restore buffalo as wildlife, it means that they have a place to exist where there's a natural female to male ratio. They're the ones doing the breeding, their migration, their corridor where they go for food and water, the plants that they eat. They're matriarchal. It's important that that matriarchy can be passed to those subsequent generations. We manage them by and the population by harvest, by eating the bulls, and that's how we feed the community, while also growing a population that is of reputable genetics, no cattle gene introgression. So, by being that buffalo are ecologically extinct, when we have a place where we can restore them, protected under tribal law, protected as wildlife, that means we can not only grow the population but grow habitat, and that's land rematriation. Buying back these lands for buffalo that we can restore to tribal jurisdiction, while also challenging and thinking more holistically about land use. Like, our reservation was divided into 54 range units that have all had a priority in cattle production on an Indian reservation. Well, I want to question that. I believe there needs to be room for buffalo. Not that all cattle or cattle producers need to quit or be run off of the reservation, not saying that at all. But there needs to be room, and there needs to be parity, especially for tribes that have this historic, cultural, spiritual relationship to this animal. Why wouldn't we restore it in the most respectful, reverent way? Well, today that's wildlife, so it allows them to exist, and not so that we can market the meat. It's important to be able to feed our people first
Mm-hmm.
and think about diabetes and health and the cognition of our growth and development of our young people by having access to a healthier protein.
So, how would how would bringing back bison into a school system benefit children, the school system, the land, and the bison? How would that be of
Well,
benefit?
it's very important to be able to feed our young people bison, buffalo, because it's the meat with the highest protein, minerals, vitamins, and omegas, and lowest fat and cholesterol than almost any other meat. So it's nutritionally important. It's in our DNA. Even though it's been missing for a period of time, it's still very important to have that meat source in our growth and development. We know that um, test scores and cognition of young people increases with a steady diet in buffalo. So we want to create some long-term studies where we can feed a family, nothing but buffalo meat for, steadily in their diet for 15 or 20 years and show what that can do for curbing rates of diabetes or other diet-related issues. But we don't have those long-term studies in place yet. But where better to begin than on reservations where we can feed our own people, our own buffalo. So the goal is to grow our population so that we have an increased number of harvestable animals that we can get into not only schools but our elder programs, the food distribution programs, commodity, so that community members, when they need food, this is what's available for them. For feeding schools, especially federally funded ones, it makes it difficult because of USDA regulations that require meat inspection for that meat to enter a school. And so there's regulatory roadblocks that we're trying to overcome. So not only tribes like Shoshone and Arapaho, but all tribes across the country have better access to buffalo meat that can be made available for our school kids.
Mm. Mm. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.